Hello, and thanks for joining us on this month's Mark IV Battle Report on Tried and True. Special thank you and shout out to Dr. Lee for creating the custom power coils featured in today's match. If you enjoy our content, please consider subscribing to the channel and keep up to date on our bat rep and podcast releases. If you would like to support the channel directly, a link to our Patreon can be found in the video description below. Our match today was recorded using the Black Tide 2 Part 1 scenario, Signal Strength. On a mission to capture a communications tower is returning friend of the channel and Signar local Rick. Welcome back. He is leading a 75-point Mark IV army of Storm Legion led by Major Anson Wolfe. Please discuss your thoughts and list choices going into the game.
Alright, hi guys, thanks for having me back to the channel. So today I'm bringing Major Anson Wolfe. We have racked for today deflection and snipe. Orgoth likes to shoot me and pull me in, so I was kind of waiting for that to end up on the side of the board, so we gotta protect my peeps. Followed by two Corsairs. Both are same setups with an Arc Node head, heavy storm thrower, and voltaic punching spike. Leading the charge for a big old heavy boy, we have the Relentless Charge head on Striker with Electro Bombard and Power Fist. It's kind of a nice little package of 3 jacks to make sure our feet goes off pretty strong. Two solos in the Legionnaire Officers. I needed to make sure that I got some of the good expansion pack onto the board, so I have myself a set of Storm Lance Legionnaires and the unit of Storm Thrower Legionnaires with the banner. I also bring up with me a unit of Stormblade Legionnaires and 2 units of Storm Guard Legionnaires. I also decided for my command cards to include the defenses for this time with 3 barriers. I also have Careful Reconnaissance to get over those barriers, Infiltration so I don't just get shot off the board willy-nilly, Old Faithful to keep my feet healthy, and Power Swell just in case I gotta dive in with Wolfe for a little more punch.
Looking to deny Signar's beacon for help is an army of marauding sea raiders commanded by the Thousand Wraths Horruskh. Their army is being led by returning podcast host Paul. Welcome back to the channel. Please discuss your list and strategy going in today's match.
Hey Erica, thanks for letting me get in another bat rep. So this list is being run by Horruskh. For my spell rack, I am bringing in Carnage and Unnatural Darkness. I found that Windstorm typically isn't really good against the amount of shooting that Signar brings, so I'd rather just bring up Cloud Effects in order to go and block line of sight, and then Carnage is usually what's necessary in order to go and hit that, swingy defense 13. For my battle group, I decided to take 1 Jackal and 2 Tyrants. The Jackal has Bloodthirst, Polearm, and the Pneumatic Spike. He's basically a get in there and just whack on a bunch of different things and threat far. And for my 2 Tyrants, I have a Melee Beater, which is my Tyrant with the Overtake head, a Scything Flail, and a Cannon Shield. And then I have a Range Heavy who has a Hunter head, the Belcher right arm, and then the Claw for the left arm. I find that is a good loadout to just have 1 gun and then a melee option when I need it, while the Tyrant with the Scything Flail is really just there to go do as much damage as possible. For my solos, I took a Reaver Commander. I love having Tactician on a bubble, so pretty much take the Reaver Commander every single match that I can. And I also have the Volker Forge Master. I ended up getting the Army Expansion box and wanted to go and crack a couple of these guys out, and he has not been failing me whatsoever. For the units, I have a unit of Strike Reavers with a standard bearer. I have Ulker Axers, Ulker Barragers, and a War Witch Coven. For the reason behind this, I'm trying to maximize the tough models on Horuskh's feet, and going along with that is that my cards, I have Infiltration, Old Faithful, Sapper, Spotters, and True Inspiration. So True Inspiration will go onto the Strike Reavers so that all my infantry that will be up in the front lines will be able to have that tough no knockdowns feat. And then I have Spotters in order to allow the Ulker Barrage team and the Strike Reavers to be able to shoot who they need to shoot. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes against Rick, and I'm excited to play.
Can Wolfe and his forces capture the communications tower in time to alert his allies of the oncoming invasion? Let's get to the table and roll off.
Hey Rick.
Hey Paul.
So let's go look at this map. We got some forests, we got a couple of hills, we got a bunker that you're breaking with my big fat hands. Exactly. We have our farm with the corn. The corn's supposed to be tall grass because gotta make sure people are eating.
pointing out my fancy new defenses.
Oh, they're just all on that side. I can't wait to use my sapper card. I'm so excited for that.
I'm going to be disappointed.
Just a little heads up for people to be aware of. There are 4 objectives kind of like going around. So you should see like these little like power coils that are around. Those are the objectives that we're fighting for, as well as the center communications tower that's right there in the middle.
There is a note that there is a 4th little coil pod on the other side of the actual.
On the other side of the
tower.
on the other side of the King of Coin, right?
Yes, on the other side of the King of Coin, which is going to happen at Nova.
All right, well, go ahead and take it away, man.
All right. Yeah, so we go ahead and get the turn, get ready to go. We start off with Wolfe very quickly. We put Snipe up on the center striker there, kind of making sure to lean into that whole range 17 gun. It's going to be pretty good. Then also cast through the arc node of the bottom Corsair there, lightning tendrils onto my new fancy unit of Storm Lances for them to kind of run up the board there and start throwing electro leaps all over the place. This first turn, realistically, is to kind of just get up the board. Wolfe going first, I feel, is pretty strong. Just getting up the board and being able to threaten so much more sooner feels really strong. So we get the Striker up there with the 2 Corsairs. Striker goes ahead and hides behind that wall there. It's a pretty safe position for him. I start to balance my Storm Guard.
I mean, I saw that one. He was going for a slide right there.
Oh, he was going. He thought it was fun time. I had to get him back in line and call for command orders. So here we get the Storm Lances. We're kind of working them as a little flanking unit. Just kind of run up the board and just kind of deal with me. And then we follow through with ensuring my the new unit of Storm Throwers with Banner start running up the board here a little bit, kind of making sure we can threaten those sprays quite a bit, range 10 sprays. And then we get my Storm Blades to go ahead and get up there behind the other defense that I have there, being prepared to try to get that other objective on the following turn. And then I run my Storm Guard over here behind the communications tower just to kind of defend them from just getting randomly charged or shot at very early on.
Yeah. All right, well, here's my first turn. So how I had everything set up, the Ulker Barrage team was basically in front of the bunker, but when measuring it out, I didn't realize that they were going to have to go run. So they basically run turn 1 in order to get there. So they're on top of the bunker, but they're actually inside of it, so Rick can't shoot at them, and they're going to just hunker in the bunker. And just looking at the setup, I just look at the amount of dudes that Rick has, and I'm like, look at my force that's like about like a third, maybe half the size of his. So
I got like 1 or 2, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't mention this, but we're actually playing a 75-point game with the new clock rules, and it's amazing how 75 still feels like a big game. So this is me just moving my... moving the Reavers on up. So I move the Reavers up. They are going to be in the shield wall. I throw the infiltration command card on there, making sure that they're not going to get shot at, I think, by or charged by your infantry. I know you can still like walk and shoot at me, but with your blast, it's only going to be, you know, blast damage, so hopefully they survive. I'm measuring out a distance from the power nodes, or the little objectives. They have a damage roll associated with them, so I don't want to give Rick some cheeky ability to potentially just strike a bunch of my guys willy-nilly, so I'm measuring that out, making sure that I don't lose anybody arbitrarily. The Solo, the Reaver commander, is back there behind the hill. He's there to just kind of say like, hey, everyone get tactician, because I don't want to have to think about anything else. The Hunter Tyrant runs on up in order to be able to go and shoot a Belcher either towards the left or the right flank, depending on which one I need. At this point, I'm just trying to figure out where everyone's going to go ahead and be, so I throw the... I think it's like I'm deciding if I'm going to move the Jackal or Horruskh, but I moved the Jackal to basically be on the one side of the house, making sure that I'm not going to be threatened by, you know, all your stuff. But you put in, like, letting me know like there's like 13 inch threat with the guys like behind the communication tower. It's hard to see it, so I move them back a little bit because I don't want to arbitrarily lose a Jackal with that. This is me throwing the Tyrant with the swinging flail. I'm telling you, the flail and the shield is like my favorite loadout. It's really expensive, but it just looks like a kick-ass model. Like, I just love putting...
I don't like it. It terrifies me.
It's so cool looking. This is me throwing the rest of my support pieces around. Horruskh goes and hangs out. I don't think I allocate anything, and I don't need to. I throw the Ulker to have them be behind the house in order to go ahead and play the second round. And then the Forge Master, I'm going to go and move him into a position in order to go and throw Shield Guard onto a Tyrant to allow the Tyrant to become hyper-aggressive and move towards something that needs to go ahead and move towards it.
Yep. So, no allocations from myself as well. Playing Mark IV armies, we don't play allocation rules anymore. So, I kind of look at this from a standpoint of what am I going to try to do before I trigger out my feat? So I kind of get my Storm Lances to kind of threaten the retaliation for the following turn. Having Unyielding now makes it so that they can kind of tie quite a few things up, and the point of having like these rules for moving into certain places is quite strong for me. One thing I didn't do on this particular point is I moved up my 8 inches for the original the lance there, and I didn't repo them because I'm silly, which I could have actually threatened a much larger kind of zone for that. So that's something that needs to be remembered kind of moving on. Here I'm trying to be very delicate with my 2-inch spacing for my Storm Blades over there to try to start taking these objectives for this particular point, since I need 2 models to get these objectives for this particular point. So I move my other Corsair up here to actually try to have an arc node. This is actually kind of another mistake that in my own placement is that towards here, once we kind of get towards over to Wolfe, he's out of control, so he won't be getting that focus next turn. So again here, I kind of follow through with that plan of making sure my Storm Guards stay behind that communications tower for 2 reasons. Number one, they're just not going to get charged at arbitrarily, and I just lose them because they are a very, very strong unit, especially into Warmachine in general, for the fact of that they are Jack Hunters, and they will just delete a Jack. Then from here, I move up my new unit of Storm Throwers. And my whole potential for this thing is, number one, I just kind of want them to be in the way, because this unit feels like my unit of, alright, they're going to do a couple of things, and then they're going to be decent enough to throw away, quote-unquote, with Wolfe's feet, while still trying to get some work in. So what I go to do from here is I try to make some random sprays in these areas. Behind the house right there, we can't quite see it at this point, that there's Axers back there, one of which is on the other side of a wall that is there. So he's kind of I'm going to be able to charge out with the whole unit, and I don't want them to just charge deep into me with the charges that they can have. At least maybe if I force you to use Pathfinder or something like that, but I don't want them to just kind of randomly jump into me. So the sprays kind of get dictated over to him to try to just spray him down and get him taken care of. And I think we get to the point that we do get him down to force a tough roll, and then I do go ahead and spray the back guy into him, even though I would hit my own models. So we go ahead and spray to hit myself. I miss, and then my own model, and then I'm able to go ahead and get enough damage to take out that Axer on the other side of the wall. That's where I make sure that I'm in range of Wolfe's feet. And we take a lot of looking around at this point, trying to make sure, again, I'm not trying to just randomly get killed. I'm looking at that bunker over there just because those guns on those guys over there are just going to probably be able to kill my Storm Guard. So I'm kind of readjusting myself to get my Storm Guard down off the hill there and behind the cover instead, just to make sure that they stay alive. From here, I know that the stealth unit back there is just gonna try to start giving me trouble in the following turn, so I just lob a blast damage roll over into them, boosting the damage, which is a PAL 10, so it's fairly strong for blast damage, and we go ahead and take one out. We go ahead from here. I believe this is because an AOE hit.
It was the spray. I think I remember like timeout. Wait a second, we forgot about this rule. So
yes, so we missed the timing, and so we went back to fix it a little bit. and it just rolled the damage against the guys that were around it. And I don't believe anybody took
the damage was arbitrary because like I wanted to make sure my infantry weren't nearby there, but the like jacks they can it's a tickle for them.
So here we go again. I reposition myself backwards a little bit because again I can't do anything about that bunker realistically, so I just kind of reposition myself to get out of the way. We go ahead and start activating Wolfe. He moves everybody around, kind of shifts everything, and he does get his feet and deflection up for this turn.
Okay, so now it is my second turn, so at this point I'm going to go ahead and power up. I lost the 2 models. I didn't expect to lose an Ulker, but, you know, sad times are sad times. And at this point, I have to figure out how to lean into Wolfe's feet. So I know that these guys are the ones with the sprays, so I need to go and figure out the best way to go ahead and basically jam up Rick's army without having any, I guess tagging as many people with my feet as much as possible. So I'm measuring out the Ulker barrage team, seeing if they're within 12 inches of the bunker of any models. You were smart enough to pull them back out, so I can't shoot anything this round. So what I end up doing is, actually they just kind of hang out in the bunker for the time being. It's actually kind of better because that way I'm not like triggering your feet attacks when you have like free range of the board. So what I need to go do is block line of sight using the Unnatural Darkness spell. So I'm just kind of figuring out how much I need to go do. I think I can probably effectively put out 2 Unnatural Darknesses with the communication tower and blocking off a line of sight between that and like the house. So it'd be very difficult for Rick to see my army behind it. I find that Signar actually doesn't do well with clouds or stealth, so I think this works out pretty well. So here I'm going to take my Reaver Commander. He's going to go and move up a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and give them the ability where they have the set defense, so they'll be defense 15s from charges. So the idea is like they're either going to be like engaged with Rick, or if he charges at them, they're going to be, you know, harder to hit. So I move 1. You can't see him; he's behind the communication tower, but he moves in a way that I can place the other 2 guys within shield wall, base to base, in front of Rick's army. So they're within the 2 inches, and then I place the other 2 to be onto the objective, and they're just hanging out up there. And then at that point, I gave them the True Inspiration card, so they have Tough. So under Horrusk's feet, the Tough and 4-up Steady, you know, the 4-up Tough and the Steady, they're all going to be benefiting from it as well. So this is me just trying to measure out how I can go and move the Ulker in a way. Because they have Unyielding and the armor buff, they're really hardy in melee. It doesn't really do anything against your sprays, but it at least, you know, puts big meaty boys in the way that you have to go ahead and deal with. So I put them there, and then I haven't casted Unnatural Darkness yet. Horruskh needs to be within 8 inches to do that, so I have to move some of my heavies around in order to go and shift some things around. I think this is like me figuring out who's within your feet if I wanted to go take a shot at something, but I realized that the only model I'd like to go ahead and shoot would probably die from blast damage from the stuff, so it would take place before the shot would even take place with the Unnatural Darkness. So, and I don't want to trigger the top heavy from like shooting the guys that they're already in melee with, so I advise against it, and I'm just trying to figure out where my heavy with the Scything Flail and the Cannon Shield can end up going. So I think about putting him up there to begin with, try to keep him out of 13 inches. Long story short, there's nowhere for this heavy to be that won't be dangerous. Like, he's pretty much already as close up as he needs to be, so I advise against it, and eventually I just end up shifting him. And the reason why I had to focus on moving him is that I thought about moving him in a way so that Horruskh could actually go off and cast the Unnatural Darkness. But what I ended up finding was that I could just move that heavy just slightly off a little bit, and I could just move the one with the Belcher gun, the Hunter Tyrant, and then I just end up doing that. I'm able to shift Horruskh up in a way so I can go cast my Unnatural Darknesses, have the heavy ready to go shoot stuff on the following turn, and then we're good to go. As for the other support pieces in the back, I have the Forge Master and the War Witches. They didn't really need to do anything right now, so I just kind of shuffle them around. Put a Horruskh feet up, go throw a Shield Guard up somewhere in case if I need it, and then I have the War Witches kind of more centrally located, so that way they can go and tag any of the the jacks that would need to. And I'm just moving myself up, and hopefully I can make my 4 tough checks on my turn. And I just, clock it over to Rick, and I said, all right, well, let's see what ends up happening at this point. Oh wait, no, that's right. I had to go move the jackal. Then the jackal moves, and then I think that's it at that point. Oh wait, no, that's right. I think it was because I had to go and have more models to contest the zone, or the central objective. So I put him up there to go and contest that. That's right.
Yeah, he was the last model to kind of get activated, and we were looking at the board state, and I said that if you don't kind of make sure to contest this command tower in the middle here, that I had to kill like 1 model or 2, and I can take it and kind of win very quickly. So we just wanted to make sure that it was not over as quickly, and just good sportsmanship.
No, I agree. I appreciated that, and I think at the end of that round it went 2-2. So you scored 2 objectives, I scored 2 objectives, and no one was controlling the tower in the middle. Yeah,
command center. Yeah. So I kind of dip into the tank a little bit to kind of look to see what we're doing. My feat was completely, I don't want to say completely ineffectual, because it effectively made it that my entire army survived your whole turn. And so I think that's the strength in Wolfe's feat, is that, like, sure, if you start killing my army, I can kill yours back. But if you don't want to lose your army to just subsequent attacks during your own turn, you kind of ignore it. And then I still have my whole army for the following turn. So that's kind of what happened with me here. So now we're kind of diving into the whole thought process of, like, what are we going to do? Where are we going to do it? Kind of the primary targets right now is if I can try to start clearing off the guys that are around this communications tower because of how much it's actually worth, command point wise or victory point wise, while still also probably just staying outside of 12 inches of that bunker, because if I start getting over there into that bunker range, those AoEs are going to be an issue. So I believe we kind of figured that my primary targets are to get these axers out of the way, and just kind of figuring out, like, how am I going to work some of this because of your feat. +3 armor and then 4+ tough is very powerful, especially if there's not a whole lot of, like, very heavy weapons. I have heavy weapons in this army, but I think I specialize more in the sense of dealing with your jacks, specifically because of those jack hunters that I have. So we're kind of looking at here, those strike reavers that are kind of behind the communications tower there are in the way of a lot of movement for what I want to do. We did measure it out that my heavy is not engaged at all with those strike reavers, so he's free to kind of shoot and do what he wants from over there. I did find out shortly beforehand when we were doing this, like I said, that my Corsair on the bottom of the screen is out of my control range. So I was not able to kind of give it a focus, which also means that I can't arc anything to it. So positive charge immediately gets off the table because he can't run over the wall because he only has a 4-inch movement at that point. And then positive charge is just not going to happen.
This is, oh yeah, so I remember this.
Yeah, I'm glad you remember it. So we start going into the Strike Reavers first, and I start having some of my...
It was the solo first. The solo was the first one to go in there.
It was the solo charged over after using Tactician and kind of dove into them. And I think I missed on the first one, and then I shot with a gun on him that has the pistol, and I believe it did crack armor after the fact because of the shield wall. So then we start looking around. I believe we start moving the Corsair. Yeah, so he gets moved up onto the hill over here. And I look to see where I'm going to kind of start making these attacks. And I believe it was against the two that were on the objective, because I could spray across the two of them. Rat 7 gives me pretty well. Let's try to hit them. I did miss the first shot, so then I decided to just boost attack and damage rolls against the second guy. We do go ahead and trigger that tough check, but you do go ahead and get that tough.
These Reavers just did not die at all, and it was amazing.
Here starts the spiral.
It was amazing to watch.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. So I kind of, I'm looking around, I'm definitely fidgeting my dice of, like, I'm going to have to deal with these 4+ toughs. And then I don't take Savagery in this game, so that's not going to happen. So we're kind of looking around to see what we're going to do next. I'm still trying to kind of trigger off this whole thing of what are we going to do where. At this point, because I did do the spray and I hit, we're triggering the pod on the other side over there to kind of go off. I got one of the guys to go make a tough check, and you made another tough check. So we're like at 2 out of 2 right now.
I'm almost thinking that like the one Reaver that was charged by the solo made one as well. Like, I think so. I can't remember though.
I think. Well, I'm pretty sure I missed the melee attack, but the other one hit. So we are looking at these Reavers and making more attacks against them. And there's another tough check. I believe this was from. Yes, this is from the heavy. Making his shots over there because he has arcing fire on his big cannon. He's able to kind of shoot through the whole thing. Not that the Strike Reavers aren't medium bases anyway, but you made all the tough checks on that as well. So that was fun and enjoyable. So go ahead and start moving the solo to kind of get into a tactician position for the whole thing. Kind of gets him set up. I follow up with my Stormblades here on the bottom of the screen. Again, I'm just trying to keep this objective. There's no reason for me not to. I then move my light over the wall, losing that 2 inches from the Pathfinder, and making sure that it gets back into Wolfe's control range. I do just kind of make a willy-nilly spray because it can, and then making the shots from there. I believe at this point is where I'm starting to look at the Stormblade, I'm sorry, not Stormblades, the Storm Throwers, to kind of start getting into these Axers. The nice thing about Unyielding is that if I spray you, you don't get Unyielding. So we were checking for getting a bunch of sprays into him, and then these guys are also dual attack, so very powerful on a guy that has sprays and melees and kind of starts doing whatever they want to do. This is
the blast from the objective hitting on my guys, but it's arbitrary at this point. It's because they're all like under Horruskh.
Yeah, I mean,
it needs like 12s or something to like ding them.
I think so. Yeah, I think I got like a couple points in, but it was nothing that was like, oh no, look what happened. So we continue on with the sprays going through the guys. It's not going well. I do admit that I misplaced my banner a little bit. I put it too far away, thinking that you were going to kind of just randomly get it, and I would lose my ionization bubble. But I think at this point, because of your placement kind of worked out, I was only able to keep in the one Axer. So we were trying to kind of focus on him with these guys in the sense of just trying to spray him down. I was able to kind of get a couple of the other guys on the other side of the... couple attack rolls into guys on the other sides of the clouds just because of how the sprays work. But the rolls just weren't there to get these guys. I was able to get some damage in on the Axers, but nothing enough to make a tough check. So from here, we go ahead and bring in the newbies and charge in my Storm Lances against the Axers and go to make my attack rolls here. So the Storm Lances, they do have, so they have the cavalry charge, so they get 3 dice on the charge, which is very nice. I did get a crit on that one, but you're steady, so
it's from the Horruskh beat, yeah.
Yes. So I charge in on the guys here. They do have brutal charge, so they go up to a respectable POW 16 on that charge. I finally get through a tough check on that first Axer. By killing that Axer, I took one of my lances out of melee range, so he wasn't able to make any more attacks against the Axers. But I was able to go up against the to go ahead and charge into that other Axer, which I believe survived still, because +3 armor is very
I don't
strong.
remember if it was that, or I don't think I rolled a tough check for it, but yeah, like that one Axer that you see down there, like he stays alive this turn, like yeah. Just MVP right there, holding the line.
Yeah, very strong. And so we kind of start looking around a little bit. I'm finished making, so they also have the guns where they can start shooting at people off of the lances themselves. And then we kind of get to a moment here. I believe we remembered in a couple of minutes. Yeah, there we go. So I finally remembered the repo with a little bit of assistance from Erica off camera. She's like, "Don't they repo?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah." So I was able to kind of start engaging a little bit farther in, and then I pulled back the far back lance to just try to see if I can still have him for a following turn to kind of be helpful. And then this is kind of where the march of the Storm Guards start after Wolfe puts positive charge up on the striker there. And then I believe I get deflection back up, and I decide to... I think I infiltrated Wolfe at this point because I just didn't want like a random belcher shot or something to kind of come over onto him because he had only one focus left for this particular turn. I just didn't feel like Power Swell was going to kind of be needed. And these objectives block line of sight anyway, so I was okay with that. So from here, I, with the help of the Tactician Bubble from my solo that's in there, was able to kind of charge move my Storm Guard around. And I celebrated a little bit right there because I finally got through a tough check on these Reavers with these Storm Guard making their attacks. Some of these dice rolls just not going too well, but Positive Charge being a very powerful spell is actually allowing me to get some of this stuff to go on. So from here, I move my my Storm Guard up into the unit to kind of start clearing out a little bit. I did have to, unfortunately, make a conscious decision to get within 12 inches of the bunker with a couple of my guard, just to make sure that some of this was able to go off appropriately. But I was able to finally get through a couple more of those tough checks too.
An important point, though, we got to go make, because we didn't see it. We both scored 2 again this round, so Rick wasn't able to go get close enough to contest the top battery thing, so I got a point for that one, and he didn't contest my side.
Yes.
So we both went up by 2. So at this point, this is me thinking, okay, cool, so I can definitely still store another point. The Ulker can now shoot. But I need to make sure that I make them as accurate as possible. So this is when I'm going to go ahead and use the Spotter's card. I'm going to end up using it onto the Reavers. I'm just measuring out the 5 inches to see who can get there. Deflection and them staying still, like it that kind of balances out. So I want to get that +2 to get them to effectively a Rat 7. I mean, technically like a Rat 9 against a 15, so I'm looking for a 6 to hit them. I felt very comfortable about that, so that's where they're going to go be. Me trying to figure out how I'm going to go and allocate all my focus. Playing with Horruskh, I have to say, like, I love Blood Boon on his weapon, and I love having Carnage because it's just great as an option to just get free spells out by killing things. So...
Oh, very strong.
It completely changes the matchup, and I love that aspect about the Orgoth, because it really forces my guy to go play up, and I'm fine with it. You know, like, he's gonna go up there, he has his buddies, and they're doing their thing. So this is me just measuring out the AoEs, and I have my Reavers. They end up moving forward a little bit, just tagging a couple within the marked target, just basically 2 models that I want to be able to try to shoot, and then they try to shoot the middle guy. I think I maybe either miss him or I don't crack armor. It's one or the other. And then I also want to make sure that the flag has the curse, I think, ability that's on it. That's a -1 armor debuff, so trying to get as many guys in there, because Blast 8 I don't think is good enough into armor 15. That means I need an 8 to go do it, so I'm fishing for a 7 instead. I definitely would say that with what is her name, Sabreth, because she has Crippling Grasp, I think that she probably supports the Ulker Barrage team a lot more. I just wanted to see them because, you know, painting the models and I want to put them on the table. But this is me just doing my attack rolls, checking to see if I'm actually able to do damage with it. So I think that was the gunshot from the Reavers to that middle guy, so that way he was going to be caught in the blast, and I can go hit the 2 furthest guys. There's like one guy on the hill, partially on the hill, and another guy that was like on the tower. So the first shot actually missed. I think I rolled like a 3 or a 4 on that, and it didn't even crack armor. So I had the second shot hit the same guy. I think I hit 2 of them. I think I killed 2 of them, like one with the main damage and one with blast damage. So that was that was that guy and the other one, and so I removed 2 guys there. Then the second shot, I was surprised. So the second shot actually, I think, removed like 2 as well. So they definitely punched up. So hitting you, I explode the first guy, and we figure out it's like the guys on the hill, so once get hit. So main guy, second guy gets killed because I rolled an 8. I need at least a 7, and then
Yeah, I think you got 6 guys.
Yeah,
that
I was very surprised by that. I think it definitely, the math doesn't work out that way, like normally, but I was happy with it. And then
just roll boxcars a couple times.
Yeah, exactly. There goes my guy. He goes and gives the precision strike, gives myself tactician, the Reaver commander, so that way I don't have to play with those rolls. And this is me trying to figure out where Horruskh needs to be. So Horruskh is unable to move through that objective, so what I need to go do is have him vanish through it, and I'm going to go and have him charge at one of the horses. And the intent is that he's going to go and try to kill 2 of the horses. So I move the War Witches up in order to do this little flip. I move the War Witches up to be within 2 inches to do the Dark Shroud between the 2 horses, so they're less likely to be killed because you have more easily be killed because you have Unyielding. And then the other 2, I think, empower my Belcher heavy. So this is when I start to figure out where everyone needs to go ahead and be. I go and have Horruskh vanish forward to that proxy base. We agree with that. And then I have Horruskh charge and try to kill one of the, I think the one behind the house is the one I go to for first. It didn't really matter, but I mean, like, that's just the one I wanted him to go for. So Horruskh charges in. I don't remember. I think I needed a 4 to hit you. No, a 5 to hit you. So yeah, I did it with a 7. So this is a power 17, technically 19. Like, you explode, no issue. I guess, and then from there I go and have Blood Boon. I get Carnage up for free. Now it makes all of my heavies hit a lot more easily. It makes me hit a lot more easily now. And at this point, like, I think I needed like another however much damage.
It was dice off 1. You needed to roll
I'm like, let's just do it. And yeah, I got an 11. It was fine.
Yeah, and then just rolled another 11. It's fine.
So here is when I end up having my Ulker Axer go, because he ends up having snacking. I want him to go ahead and eat all the guys. So it goes from Mat 7 to Mat 9 because of Carnage. But then you mentioned, like, hey, if you walk out of melee, that's no good. So we just basically move him back in order to go and be able to go fight all the guys. But he missed with a 3. So first attack misses, second attack hits, and I kill the guy, so he snacks for 2 points. It's all right. He's there contesting the little the central command tower, so I have him there. And then from here, this is when I start to get my big boy in there, my tyrant. I was really excited about putting him in. In hindsight, now looking at this, I realized that the tyrant going forward was probably not the right call, but this is a narrative game and I wanted to have fun, so I just wanted to go ahead and go with it. So I end up grabbing a proxy base, trying to figure out where this tyrant could go, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go have him go in and he's gonna go Thresher. And then I measured out, like, wait, if he Threshers, will he hit Horruskh with it? And
gonna hit Horruskh, man, guy.
I'm like, maybe we don't Thresher with this. So I end up having him charge. We don't do the Thresher, and I charge the one guy with my Scything Flail. I think in hindsight, I probably should have just done the done like the head for one who was in melee with, but I end up rolling Snake Eyes, but with the Horruskh, the Divine Favor, or whatever the passive that he has up on there. I was able to re-roll that, hit a thing, and with the overtake, he's just going to town and smacking on everybody. It was Fate Bless. Fate Bless is the name of the roll. It is really, really good. So he's going in there. I'm walking around. I'm shooting people. I'm like Rat 5 with my cannon gun. Can't hit anything. I'm like, I don't want to hit people with my cannon. I want to hit people with my my scythe. So I'm just going around bonking people and having a good time with it. I end up hitting the Bannerman, getting rid of your ionization, and then he's there, and there's a bunch of Stormguard. What are they called? They're like there, just ready to receive. I'm like, this may not have been a good idea. This is when I have my Jackal. He ends up charging your horse. So Mat 6 to Mat 8 with Carnage, needing a 5 in order to go ahead and hit you. Charges for free because it is aggressive, which is just a wonderful rule on it. Goes in there. I think I boost the attack because this is the only thing he's able to hit. So I want to make sure I actually kill you, and he kills you with the power, I think 15 on the charge halberd. And then this is my last thing to go do, is that we have my my hunter tyrant move on up, and he's just basically there to go and boost a shot into one of the guys that are there in order to go ahead and hit you. And then let's see here. Yep, there it is. So there's the hunter shot. I'm trying to remember like what killed that guy right there. I was in there. Oh wait, no, that's right. With the jackal, I think I just hit you with the pneumatic spike with the other guy. That now yes. I have the hunter go. The hunter goes and boosts a shot. I think I hit, and it's a crit fire on this roll, which is really, really nice.
Yes.
My dice were just on fire today. Like, no pun intended.
Yes, they were.
But yeah, so I think it was a power 14. I end up using the... I don't remember if I used the Horruskh ability to reroll because he's like on like 1 or 2 focus at this point. So then I just start boosting all the blast damage, and this one the blast damage like didn't do as well, but then 3 of the models were on
yes.
fire. So, and then it would have triggered the the AoE damage roll, but we actually realized that it would actually have done nothing. So I think we don't even roll it at that point. So,
yeah, because it can't damage them because
rules,
of the electric.
And we end up going to you, and you were very kind enough to realize that I forgot to move my Forge Master, so I moved him up to go ahead and score my 2 sides. You score your 2 things again. The Jackal wasn't close enough,
yes.
so it's 6 for 6.
Yep. So looking at the board here for my turn, I'm kind of seeing that we're thinning out in our armies, and so like it's getting very close to potentially just being able to control the communications tower in the center. So I try to start to execute a plan to make this happen. That heavy being where he is now on the kind of right next to that communications tower, my Storm Guard are able to see him. So that's going to be very good for me, but I need to get it set up in a way that I can have all the dice rolls be exactly how I want them to be. So what that means is I went with Wolfe first after my power up, and I got positive charge up on both Corsairs through their arcanodes. So Corsair, go ahead, he moves into position, and then I have a single Storm Guard from my original unit run up there after my heavy destroyed the last of the Strike Reavers on that back objective there, and I move my Corsair and the 1 Storm Guard onto that so that I can go ahead and get that objective as well. I then go ahead and charge my Corsair into your heavy, to your Tyrant, and I get the crit for the armor piercing, and I roll a 4.
It was so great.
I was like, I'm doing it! Power 14 armor piercing! Let's do it! Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So we go ahead, and I just try to make some more subsequent rolls against it. Technically, an AoE hit a spray hit near the pod, and so we start rolling all this stuff off. Now with one of my Stormblades out of the shield wall, he could have died to a 6, but we did not roll a 6. So from here, I'm able to get some positive charges off onto the Tyrant up here from the Storm Guard, who are Jack Hunters. And when I rolled like a 16 on one of the rolls, it just exploded. So it just exploded, and I think I was only on 2 attacks. It wasn't even.
Yeah, I was very surprised. I thought he was going to be able to survive 1 round.
They are an obnoxious unit, very powerful, especially against Jacks and just Warmachine. They have crit disruption for some reason. Like the Jack's going to still be there afterwards, but whatever. So we kind of get into my other solo moving up here to try to get rid of this other Axer with a gunshot, and I happen to do it with some nice boxcars. And then the Repo battle position to go ahead and get me back into position there. My Heavy and Wolfe taking the bottom one, my Corsair, my Storm Guard taking the top one. I was able to clear off the communications tower, and I was able to kind of keep the objective on the bottom here as well. So I actually went up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points that turn, with you only going up.
Yeah, so you're up by 4 at this point.
It's very close.
Yeah, so this is my next round. I'm looking at the clock, and I realize that Rick doesn't, like, even though Rick went up a lot on points, he doesn't have a lot on time. So I want to put him in situations where he might end up wasting time, trying to figure out how best to go about doing this. I end up losing all of my models up there, aside from the Ulker and the bunker, so I end up allocating some focus where I need to go ahead and allocate it to, and this is when I think I make the a mistake for this. I'll show you in a little bit, but it has to do with the ones that are in the bunker. So I decide to keep them within the bunker because I want them to stay still and go shoot, and they can't shoot for jack for anything. So I was trying to like go and remove the guys, and I don't think I removed anybody off of it. So then I had to go run a model up there in order to actually be able to destroy to prevent you from capping that point again, which was just not in the cards on how I expected things to go ahead and go. So
right, so the point of order for that whole particular thing is because the objectives block line of sight, the bomb or the barragers could not see the storm guard model to shoot him, so he had to try to kill him with blast damage, and it just was not cracking.
And in hindsight, they probably should have left the bunker and just been like more pieces to contest, because now all I have is just the 100% solo there that is arbitrarily going to be able to be removed. So at this point, I have to try to remove as much things in order to prevent it so that Rick can't just contest like all the points. I got to make sure that I don't let him score the center objective again. It going up like 2 points, that was huge for him. So this is me trying to figure out where I need Horruskh to go be and where I want the Tyrant to go be. So of course Horruskh needs to go first to begin with, because I want to go get another Blood Boon Carnage out. He goes in, he charges. Do these guys have like set defense or something? Yeah, so
yes,
I boost the attack.
Yeah, they have more rolls than they need.
I boost the attack, I hit the guy, I Carnage for free, and then I vanish forward, and then he's like hanging out, I think like on like 2 or 3 focus, and I end up buying 1 attack on one of the swordsmen that are, you know, on the objective. So he's there now. And also the other reason why I put Horruskh up there is just to threaten Wolfe potentially if Rick were to leave me an assassination vector. So Jackal goes on in, Jackal does Jackal things, and does his melee attacks. Mad 8, I need a 5 to hit you. Feel confident about this. And your armor 18, so I do boost the damage on the first guy. And then because I had 2 focus on him, I don't remember. I was like thinking, do I just boost this attack or do I do it now? Just hard roll it. So I hard rolled it. I boost the damage, and then I was able to score that area. So I will be able to score the bottom and my side for those. So here's when I end up throwing the War Witches up there, and I have the one move up to do a death rattle. I'm like, oh hey, I can try to do a spell at you, and I hit you, and I'm like, what is the power on this? I thought it was a power 12. It's a power 10. So armor, I think it bounced on 15. Am I right?
Yeah,
so like 15, I couldn't even do that. I'm like, huh, okay, well that stinks. So the other ones just go in and power up the hunter, and the hunter goes in, and he goes in with his charges, and he's going to go and try to remove as many of these models as possible. I think when doing this, I had to charge the light because you had polarity field, and I can't charge the infantry. So I charged the light.
That's the other guys.
Oh, is that okay? I can't remember. Then maybe I do charge.
Your light walked, and so you charged.
Okay, that was it. Well, anyway, I charged the light because I can't keep track of all your rolls.
Neither can
anyway, he goes in there, he uses the claw, and then I now have my headbutt and I have my gun. So I decide to, I try to boost a shot with the gun, and it just did not work. And then I just end up just buying attacks onto your light, and I think I leave it on 1 box. I think it has a Cortex box left or something.
You left it on 4 because it had its Cortex and its movement still.
So scoring wise, you get 1 point, I got 2, so you're now up by 3.
Yes, so we kind of figured it out that if I'm able to manipulate it to a degree. Now this is also where I start to get very panicky because of time. And so we kind of start making some mistakes initially about how I'm kind of moving things to make sure that we're doing stuff. So there's a little bit of good sportsmanship here in how I'm doing things. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to run.
You can't run because you're engaged.
Because you don't have unstoppable.
You're engaged, yeah.
So I've got to get into panic mode because I got 5 minutes left. So we're kind of manipulating the whole thing, but we basically work it out that if I can stop you from scoring a point this turn and score 2 points for myself, that I'm able to take the game. So what we end up kind of figuring out is that I have to actually leave the Corsair down here on the bottom for this objective to stop it. I kind of figure out that I need Wolfe and my solo to stay on this other objective to keep it, and then my Corsair and my Storm Guard on the top to keep that objective for myself. So those will be my two that I'm kind of focusing on.
Talking about sportsmanship, this is, I think, when we paused the game real fast because you were fighting the Commander Reaver, and we're like, wait a second, like, because it had a shield rule, and I think we like paused it to go and like make sure, like, let's
make sure.
Yeah, so that way it was like actually as correct as possible, and we found out that it was actually on one box left. So we put him back there, and we played that turn out.
Yeah, so we finished this up. So I used my my Corsair. It does have positive charge on it because I wanted to make sure I had that extra little bit over there. So my Storm Guard was not able to kill it, got it down to the one box, but then I went ahead and took my Corsair, using the focus on it to boost it. My Heavy walks up here because we figured out, I was like, I'm just going to kill the model that's contesting the other one because you need 2 models per one. So I go ahead and I hit it because I need a 12 to hit, and then power 15 boosted just for the sake of it, just kill stuff automatically. And then we kind of manipulate it out here, and we find out that there's no way for me to not gain those 2 points, and you'd gain 0, and we ended the
and that was it. That was the game. It was a really good one. Well, Rick, that was one heck of a slaughter of a game. Absolutely enjoyed that. It was
a great game. It was killer.
I think we have to go and talk about the elephant in the room and how this is actually the second time that we played this scenario and how we had to go and change some of the rules of it. Do you want to discuss a little bit about it?
Yeah, so we played this first with the rules as they are very specifically written, and it became very apparent very quickly on how one-sided it can be without a true understanding of how a scenario is going to go. The unfortunate part for this game is that it very quickly believed in just watching it, a very negative play experience at first, with how the scenario did not affect my army in the slightest, realistically, but it would annihilate yours.
Yeah, it was because it was like playing into the Wolfe feat, but as you said, it just exacerbated it. Like, I feel like with Horrusk's like feat, he's able to go ahead and withstand like the random blasts and gunshots and stuff like that. But like with you, with just how much stuff was happening on my turn, like I just arbitrarily lost like a third of my whole army. Just that's
right.
Neat.
Yeah,
because
cool. Because the point is that the coils, as written, pop off every single time an AoE or a spray goes off. But because of how Wolfe's feat works and how I have both AoEs and sprays on my jacks, every time I took a gunshot, those things were popping off. And if I had a really high damage roll, it didn't matter what your armor was. And it was just... So we had to modify it that each turn only could go off once.
And I'll say this is that if you're interested in running these narrative events, like as like a TO or something, it'd probably be a good idea for you to look at these closely and just see if there could be any weird situations like this. I just think with how the scenario is written, Storm Legion definitely benefits like a lot.
Absolutely.
In this, and I think Wolfe, like again, he just exacerbates it. I think
specifically,
yeah, it was just no good at all. That's like why it didn't hit you at all, like
right.
your feet, like
oh,
triggering. But overall, I'll say this, minus that 1 point, I think that narrative event was it was a breath of fresh air compared to like playing Steamrollers consistently.
Oh, 100%. If you take that one specific rule and just tweak it just a little bit, it was a fantastic scenario because number one, it forced you up the board because you had to still worry about contesting that center objective, and there was enough of a active scenario around the rest of the board that you couldn't just like sit back and play guns or sit back and do this. Like you actually had to commit and be in the grill of everything with your opponent.
Yeah, and it's funny you mention it because I was talking to Dan afterwards and I said, hey Dan, like I think you and I should go do the full like season 1 Black Tide, and he's like, all right, I'm down. So like him and I are gonna be playing the narrative events going forward, and
I'm really excited because they actually just updated the app to have all of the treasure chest abilities and upgrades and all that kinds of stuff.
Oh, neat. Because the league options,
the league options are getting added in there. So, because I know technically when we're playing this game that we played, there could have been some upgrades to either side of the armies because of those advantages or disadvantage or whatever they
Sure.
have specifically that could have been at play during our game. It's just that we just decided to play the scenario without the league around it.
Right. But I mean, I would almost challenge anybody, the narrative of stuff. I think you should go and take a look at it. If you want a breath of fresh air, I was talking to Ryan for, our recent podcast episode. It's like how unlimited can be, like that breath of fresh air where you just want to play something different. I definitely challenge people to go play these narrative games. They're a lot of fun. You'll enjoy it and just know what you're walking into. And, if you need to change a rule and just make sure that you're having fun at the end of it.
100%. That's the whole point. It's like we through most of this we talked about good sportsmanship and taking care of your opponent and just having fun. Like that's the whole point of the game, and I think we really succeeded with that on this particular round.
And also the map was amazing.
Yes, it was super fun.
All right, Rick. Well, I'll see you at the shop. All right.
I'll see you around.
Thank you for watching. If you would like to check out some additional content, including the original video and audio of our battle reports to support the channel, please click our Patreon link in the video description below. If there are any factions, warcasters, or warlocks you would like to see on the channel, please let us know in the comments. And as always, see you on the next Tried and True Battle Report.